Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 220. Is it time to be kinder to yourself? I shared with my email subscribers and LinkedIn connections recently how I've had a bit of an epiphany, and as usual, there were a number of contributing factors. These included a complete health assessment, an energy activation session, and reaching a significant birthday. I could go on, but even though I'm an open introvert, I think that's sufficient personal information for now. So, one of the things that landed with such a thud that I really couldn't ignore it was the need for more kindness. Let's face it, the world really does need more kindness, and I'm starting with how to be kinder to myself. Many of you will know I'm a huge fan of Dr. David Hamilton, and he has been focusing on kindness and related topics for some time now. He had a career in R&D in the pharmaceutical industry, and he became really interested in the power of the mind when looking at the stats around the placebo effect. He now focuses on the mind-body connection and the power of positive thinking, which of course includes kindness, gratitude, self-love, and how your mind can heal your body. So you can probably tell why I'm just a little bit smitten with his work. Okay, I admit it, a bit smitten with him too. Another bit of personal information I hadn't intended to share, but there it is. And it's probably appropriate because my next episode is going to be about kindness to others. So why not start now with a bit of recognition and kindness to those who have shaped my work and shaped my view of the world. So in this episode, I'll be sharing how I'm being and going to be kinder to myself. So you can either choose to follow a similar path yourself or at least hold me accountable. Now, where shall I start? Okay, here's a good place. I'm going to check in with myself when accepting invitations and client work. What on earth does that really mean, though? I've recently got superb clarity about where I'm heading in my business, and because I still have a tendency to people please, I sometimes accept work assignments or invitations that are out of whack with my desired destination. This means I either resent, even if it's just a little bit, what I've agreed to, or don't give it my whole. So, the question I ask myself now is, does this opportunity, and yes, I choose to view everything that comes my way as an opportunity, does this opportunity take me closer to my future self and life? If the answer is no, I will decline or delegate and discuss why. Giving valid reasons is necessary for me in order to show kindness to others. If the answer is yes, then I'll accept and will give it my all. Which brings me on to my next commitment. Second, I always aim to do my best, and that is distinct from doing things perfectly. You know I'm all about done is better than perfect these days. That's part of my recovering perfectionist mantra. I adopted the always do my best intention from Don Miguel Ruiz, as outlined in his book, The 4 Agreements. If you've not read his book, these are: be impeccable with your word, which is about integrity and authenticity for me. Do not take anything personally, and I've talked about this as what other people think of me is none of my business. I still struggle with that sometimes though. Next, it's do not make assumptions, and I've got to admit that's been my practice since leading teams in the Total Quality Management Initiative from 1987 onwards. And finally, always do your best. This points to how to action the first 3 agreements, but it also acknowledges that our best changes over time. I give myself the grace to accept that my best may vary day to day, so this isn't a stick to beat myself with. And most importantly for me, not doing my best leaves me feeling, crappy and unfulfilled. So why would I not aim for doing my best? Third on my list of commitments is that I'm being kinder to myself by taking more interest in how I nourish my whole self. This includes the food I choose to eat, how I supplement my nutrition, that's necessary because of the results of my health screening, how I consciously hydrate, how I move my body, how I spend my downtime, and what I feed my mind. I found out recently, as you may remember, that simply vegging out is not replenishing for me. So I'm switching the time that I would have squandered on nothing in particular to spending that time doing something that is positively life-affirming to me. And that doesn't necessarily mean being productive in a work sense. It includes things like spending more time in nature, reading more from stimulating thought leaders, dancing more. Fourth on my list of commitments is how I speak to and about myself. I can just hear my dear bro Paul's voice saying, "Hooray, about time." I can always rely on Paul to call me out when I discount or downplay compliments or motivational feedback. I think I adopted that approach as I really struggle with people who seem delusional, big-headed, about their abilities or impact on the world. And I never wanted to fall into that category. On reflection, though, I now see that I swung the pendulum too far the other way. So I am now allowing it to settle back into the middle. This means that my new modus operandi is accepting with gratitude, grace, and ease. I have already created some new affirmations and am saying them regularly to myself. I probably have time to share one more. So, number 5, my last way of being kinder to myself, is to do with my thoughts and beliefs. I've committed to catch new limiting beliefs as they sneak up on me and flip them using my own process. Any of those new flipped beliefs have to be grounded in reality, otherwise I'm in danger of becoming as delusional as the ones I struggle with. Back to Caroline McHugh's concept of interiority that I talk so much about. To this end, I have a really useful self-paced course that you can complete if this is something that you know that you need too. Just head to my website, flourishingintroverts.com, and you'll see it there. And if you use the code KINDNESS, you'll see a cheeky 20% discount I've applied as a mark of kindness. And whilst I'm talking about kinder thoughts, I'm going to stop judging myself harshly if today's best is not as good as yesterday's best. Being really present with and for myself is so important to me. And as Joanna Norton reminded me this week, that's how I am my most fully expressed. So those 5 seem like a great start for me, and for those of you who know me and see me or hear me in action, feel free to call me out if I seem to be unkind or less kind to myself than I could be. This simple collection of commitments will also help me to model that introverts are not all doom and gloom, pessimistic and depressed. Yep, they are just some of the myths that people hold about introverts and why they feel sorry for us and tend to want us to be different, usually be more like them. Someone who demonstrates kindness by being quieter, self-assured and calm is a powerful myth buster in my book, and that's what I'm aiming for. Now, I mentioned at the start that Dr. David Hamilton has researched extensively and written about the impact of kindness. And here are what he refers to as the side effects of kindness. I'm going to focus on the 3 that are most beneficial to self in this episode and talk about the impact or side effect on others in my next episode. So kindness actually makes us happier on a spiritual and a biochemical level. Who hasn't felt the feel-good factor when we've done something kind? Kindness is also good for the heart, and the emotional warmth that kindness engenders produces the hormone oxytocin, which is good for the cardiovascular system. And finally, on the self level, kindness slows our aging, as this oxytocin also reduces levels of free radicals and inflammation. So for me, those 3 are reason enough for me to be kinder to myself. But what about you? How do you need to be kinder to yourself, and where will you start? In conclusion, given that the world needs more kind people, and it does, what better way to start than with yourself? We will explore the impact that showing kindness has on others in the next episode. For now, though, let's release the oxytocin so we all reap the benefits and are ready to start thinking about paying it forward. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.